there are some things we didn't get to talk about, silly things that don't, that have only tiny, puddles in your life, not the big waves of political discourse, but these are just pop culture things that happened recently. If we want to put it out, we put it out. So, um, one thing that happened was, and I know you're dying to know what he thinks, but Prince Harry, of England, released a much anticipated memoir called Spare. Now, why is it called Spare, you may ask, instead of Strike? I don't know. No, it's called Spare because there was this inside kind of language that people used, like, William is the heir and you're the spare. You get it? It's like if it doesn't work out with him being king or whatever, after Prince Charles kicks the bucket, then you'll come in. And Prince Harry, he never really fit in with all the, the princely kind of stuff. And William, I think, kind of did that more. Harry was more of the rough and tumble kind of gruff kind of guy, so to speak. I'm not saying manly, but he was on, he's been in he's gone to like battle sequences, and he's gone through, he's been trained to be a soldier. So I don't know, it's kind of, and here he is with his wife, who of course is a woman of color, and so he feels like that they never fit in with the royals, and it wasn't, their straight line, this is how it has to be. But the thing that people that have read the book said, he comes off kind of narcissistic and kind of, oh, boo-hoo, this is my life, when anybody out there would be like, you're Prince of...
That sounds great.
You're Prince of England. It sold 1.4 million copies in the US, UK, and Canada on its very first day. It's one of the biggest bestsellers of all time, according to Wall Street Journal. As far as nonfiction books as well, it ran Random House. It said it beat the largest first day sales total for any nonfiction book. It did huge numbers, and that's great. I think some of it leaked early, and so they were like, "Oh, we better put it out," because the people were on fire for reading even the leaked information. So, but honestly, I'm not dying to know what's going on with the royals. It's
Hashtag
barely
not my prince.
Hashtag not my prince is barely, yeah. The actual artist formerly known as Prince, or that then became Prince. Actually, I have a lot more connection with him because whenever his music comes on, I'm just like rocking out to it. But Prince Harry, and I've only got one Prince William in my life, and that's my son William. That's the only one I care about.
That's
all
true.
right. So,
he might even be the fingerprints.
Boo. Bringing the dad jokes. I thought that was my job. All right. So, do you know Evel Knievel? That's not his real name, but
I've never met him.
No, Evel Knievel was the stunt man. He would like jump over stuff and through fire and over, whatever. It was just,
he's the motor vehicle stuntman.
During the 80s, it was crazy. He was mostly a motorcycle guy. His son, Robbie Knievel, kind of took over for him. He jumped over hotel fountains, the Grand Canyon, military airplanes. He was second generation. He died at the age of 60 with a battle with pancreatic cancer. He didn't get killed by doing any stunts. He just died from stuff that affects, the weakest of us, or the less brave or crazy. But there's if you want to know, hey, is there footage of you doing something crazy and millions of people watched it? Robbie Knievel and Evel Knievel can actually say that.
Greta Thunberg could say the same.
So recently, the Hubble Space Telescope recorded the final moments of a star in graphic detail as it's getting devoured by the gravitational grasp of a black hole, and it's actually turning it into an inside-out donut. It's ripping it apart so much. It's like just physics. Physics is just the black hole's plaything. It's just going. It's like a little kid with Play-Doh. It's just going, what's this? And it made a mess of the star. So, black holes, scary. Just stay far away from us, please.
There's probably one of them center of the Milky Way anyway.
Yeah, one more thing I could talk about, and then two things I could talk about at length, and two things I could kind of talk about. There is a video game that has, the first one was very well received, called The Last of Us. It's a post-apocalyptic thing with a zombie kind of apocalypse that actually makes biological sense. I looked into some of there is a fungus called cordyceps, and this fungus can actually make certain insects do certain things, like almost zombify them and control their mind. It's wackadoo. Okay, you have to look that stuff up. So what happened was it did really well. Then they made a sequel, which in many ways they felt was a little woke. It kind of stepped all over the main protagonist. It had him, spoilers, it had
That's
him
weak
kind of
storytelling
shot.
ideas.
Yeah. It had him shot really early. No, not just shot, beat to death, didn't he?
I
And
don't know.
basically what it made is a this new character that came in, that people were like, oh, I don't know about this. And then the daughter, the adopted
Lead.
daughter of Joel is his name, goes on a revenge spree against this other person, and it's just back and forth and whatever. And they didn't, and a lot of people didn't like it. They said it was the worst game ever. It won best game of the year, I think, with the company's called Naughty Dog, with Neil Druckmann, who's the guy over that. They won some awards or whatever, but a lot of people were like, oh, this is terrible. And he said that, oh, it's just those woke, those anti-woke people and those bullies. But they're making, like, of all things, they want to take video games that were really good in and of themselves, and they want to make a TV show from them. And I was a little hesitant because they have race swapped some characters. I'm like, okay, but it's Pedro Pascal. Pedro Pascal was in Narcos, which was really good. It was actually the sequel to the show Narcos. Really well done. He's a guy working with the DEA trying to take down drug cartels and stuff like that. It's really, he's a good actor. I've seen him do good stuff. The Mandalorian. He was the Mandalorian when he could take the mask off. What they did is they filmed Mandalorian season 3 around the same time as they were filming Last of Us. So what he did is he lent his voice to the character and had a stuntman play it at some points. And then when he had the mask off, he actually was there. So, hey, I don't care if I like the story and I like Mandalorian, it's cool. But The Last of Us, there's some fan complaints that are kind of they look kind of toxic. They're saying we don't like the show's diverse cast. He just said you can't make everybody happy. That's actually the most democratic, and I mean, like, I'm sorry, not democratic, diplomatic answer ever.
Yeah.
And that's fine. At least he didn't say, well, screw you, you Trumpies, or whatever, like he would have done before. I think he probably learned his lesson from that, I hope. So, but the reviews coming out from it saying it's very well done, very good emotional. When it slows down, it moves really rapidly, but when it slows down for the emotional beats, it's very satisfying. It has some differences from the game, but the core feel of it is there. They pointed out, and specifically, you may not know this guy, probably know him from the memes, but Nick Offerman. Do you know Nick Offerman?
Yeah.
From Parks and Recreation? He's a guy with he's Ron Swanson. He's the guy with the mustache and all the memes, the libertarian memes. That's how you know him, I guess. So the key with him is he actually is getting some really good reviews for his acting in this. And, and it's like, wow. So to be honest, and of course the young girl who plays Joel's daughter, I know there's gonna be a lot of eyes looking at her because she's a very pivotal part of the story. And she does a really good job too. She doesn't look like her completely from the video game, but that's all I'm going to say. I'm going to say, wait and see. It's gotten some good reviews. It's probably going to have a lot of violence because there's some sexual situations, maybe some, I think, of course, the daughter, she believes that she's gay, I think, or she finds that she's gay, whatever. That might have something in there, but
spoilers, I guess.
Yeah, spoilers if you haven't played any of the games or watched playthroughs. Anyway,
right.
The other thing I could talk about is I haven't seen it, so same thing as like Last of Us. I can't talk about it. I can only talk about how it was reviewed. It's a new sci-fi horror movie called Megan. M3GAN is what it's spelled. And people have said, or the creators of it have said, it's like Annabelle meets Terminator. So basically it's a robot doll that a cybernetics maker, she has inherited this other girl because her parents died or something. She has to take care of her, and she's like, I'm not really good at this. So she gets the doll to kind of be a playmate. And because she programmed it, it interfaces with the child. It like basically understands what they like, and it gets a little too protective. So it's kind of like, a female cybernetic version of Chucky. And
That is terrifying.
the thing that made this movie, people want to see this movie before it came out, was genius. Okay, it was using social media. So there's a scene. Okay, there's a scene that's not in the script, but the filmmakers went like, let's do it. Basically, there's a scene where she's about to go attack people, this guy in an office, and she does this dance. If you look up Megan dance scene, it's like made to be TikToked, okay, or to do a TikTok dance based around it. So she does this dance, and everybody's like doing hashtag Megan dance or whatever on TikTok, doing the dance. And this came out before they leaked it before the movie came out, and they were like, well, I wonder what memes we could make from it. And instantly, thank you, internet. They already did it. They had memed the crap out of it. They said, well, we just put this out there in this scene and step back and let the world meme the heck out of this scene of her dancing. And this movie has horrifying, scary moments right before something hilarious that makes you laugh, just tension, dropping out of tension. And the tension comes back up and then goes down. It's a release, that's what happens with a lot of horror movies. I think John Mark's wife needs to watch this one in the theaters and then come back and tell us what she thought. But it's getting good reviews, decent reviews. We're not saying it's the greatest thing ever, but it's decent reviews for a January film, because most movies, this is where they go to die, is in January. It's like it's a dumping ground, right? So it made 30 million its opening week.
Streaming's going to change that, I think. But anyways,
probably so. But this came out in theaters, and it made 30 million its opening weekend, which for a horror movie in January is good. That's good. I mean, it's nowhere near what Deadpool was in February, February. That thing blew up all the records of February, probably because it was in February and not in the summer. In the summer, it wouldn't have made the records blow up, but February and January is kind of where movies go to die. And so when you have a smaller movie that's actually pretty, fun, for a horror movie, and then it'll just blow up. That's how that worked. Anyway, the other thing that we could have talked about at length was Wizards of the Coast. I wanted to mention something really quick you probably don't know anything about, and this thing has been blowing up crazy. Do you remember this is, bring it down a minute. Remember the 4 students who were stabbed to death in Idaho, Moscow, Idaho. These were college students, and they were murdered. They were upstairs, and the 2 girls sleeping downstairs slept through the murder. So it was done quickly, quietly, whatever. I don't know how that happened, but anyway.
When was this?
This was last year.
Wow, I missed that one.
It's really sad. Well, it's probably come up again in the news because they recently had arrested a guy named don't quote me, I think his name is something Kohlberger. Not Joel, okay. Joshua Kohlberger, Joel Kohlberger. The J's are messing with me. Anyway, it's Kohlberger. Anyway, he got pulled in, and they're doing a trial right now to see if they have enough evidence to bring it to real trial. I don't understand how the legal system works completely. I'm just picking up data. So here's how it's now. Okay, this guy looks like he probably had something to do with. Maybe there's a lot of questions and iffy stuff. We won't go into that. What I latched onto was there is a tarot reading amateur sleuth on TikTok, and this is crazy. She believes in God. She believes God gave her her ability to read the tarot cards and stuff, even though God doesn't smile on divination. I don't know what Bible she's reading from. You know the Bible better than I do, I would say. And God doesn't really shine on tarot cards, does he? He wants you to come to him with knowledge of the future and how your path should be made straight, not the cards, right?
Right.
Is that okay? I just want to check with ask a theologian. All right, so to speak. But she says that when she was doing her tarot cards, she saw spiritual evidence that a female professor of gender studies or something had something to do with this. Like, she hired someone to have the murder happen because she had a relationship with one of the girls in the house or something. It didn't work out, and so she was like, oh, I want to get them all killed. And so this lady's her name is Rebecca I don't have it in front of me, but her name is Rebecca something. She's the female professor, and she is suing this TikToker for defamation. And
Uh-huh.
the cops are blasting this young lady on TikTok because she is probably going to cause people that believe there might be people that believe that this tarot card reader is correct, that they're going to go after this professor and harass her, right?
Right.
So that's defamation. You can't. She wasn't even in the state at the time the murders happened. She doesn't know any of the people that were murdered. It's just it's crazy. And this person is still going, well, look, they just captured a guy. Oh, isn't that convenient? That's to throw me off the case because they're afraid of the information. It's so egotistical and self-centered to
Yeah.
say, I only have the information. And if they catch somebody, it's to discredit me, a TikToker with, a million, 100,000 followers or whatever, and a million views. But really, that's not, I think people are watching it because people like to watch train wrecks. And this is a train wreck. She even said, this TikToker even said, I've been brought to court before and I won. Da da da. Okay, I'm sure we could find evidence on that. But I don't know. She seems like very like this doesn't even seem like her real claim to fame. Her claim to fame is a couple books she wrote about subjects that have nothing to do with tarot card reading
Yeah.
or her knowing the future. It's just kind of weird. Um,
Yeah.
but that's something that just popped out at me is because
Well, there's been those
is
type of weirdos throughout all of history, really, where they've claimed to have abilities they don't have, and they get their moment in the spotlight, and then they fade away. 100 years later, you occasionally run across a reference to Mad So and So.
right. Well, I was going to make the joke that when John Mark was saying that he was telling the future, I was going to call him John Stradamus. Yeah, that could be his new nickname when we asked, they could have a little segment of the show called Ask John Stradamus, and he could put on a hat or something and like with a little tail on it and go, I think this is going to happen. I don't know, that would be kind of funny, I think. But I I've watched videos about the Wizards of the Coast open gaming license D&D debacle. I know you have probably have too. I don't know if your feed is anything like mine.
Mhm.
I they took a long time to respond, then came out and they were like, "Oh, this was just a draft." It was a draft, but it wasn't a leaked document. It was a draft we were working on. We were just testing whatever. This sounds like something somebody does to cover their own rear when they get found out.
Right.
I'm being honest. And the document that was with it was something to sign. So why would you send an official document with a draft? You would keep that separate from the draft because that's a legal document. So if somebody
Right.
signed that, it wouldn't be good. I honestly think that there's something deep down in me that thinks this has something to do with I'll just point out, I don't know how much Dimension 20 makes. Dimension
Mhm.
20, I know how much which is a streaming YouTubers that stream them playing D&D, and it's really very intricate, all the miniatures and stuff, and they also go to conventions, and they're almost becomes kind of a TV show. Of course, Critical Role is the most successful, and they're making millions. They have their own TV show on Amazon. I mean, that's pretty, with their characters in it. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
The other thing is, and I don't know if they want some of that. The thing is, I think that the wording of it now, let's go with 1.1 or whatever the final version of this OGL document says. It gives the number 750,000. Is you only have to start sending us 25%, whatever, if you go over the 750,000. That's not going to, I was thinking, oh, wait a minute, that's not going to hit a lot of smaller D&D creators. That's not
Right.
going to hit them. Plus, so I think honestly, this is more the spirit of what they look like they're money grubbing, so we don't like them.
No.
Even though it's probably not going to affect me, it looks bad, so me no likey. And this is probably going to hit Critical Role. And the funny thing is, Critical Role put out a statement, and it was the most bland, like if there was text that could be khaki colored, it's that. It's just this tan khaki colored nothing, bland oatmeal of an answer. It doesn't
Yeah.
it doesn't say anything. It doesn't really say. It just kind of sounds like we don't, the wording between the lines is, we don't want to get Wizards of the Coast mad at us. We kind of like the fact that we're with 5e or whatever. When they were with Pathfinder in the beginning, they were with Pathfinder. I was like,
Yeah.
if it gets a little too, but they're very connected up with, they're hooked up with D&D Beyond. They're like, when they hooked up with them that hard, if D&D Beyond starts asking for subscriptions, they're going to be like, yay, that's great. That'll mean they can, all the money that you guys give them, they're putting it to making this the best product ever, and da-da-da. And they're going to, they're going to talk about it during their cast, their stream. I get, what do you call that? The stream, video stream.
Yeah.
They're going to talk, they would talk about it, and they'd, be like, oh, it's the best ever. You guys, hey, just let this all, they're going to try to be the nice voice, the make nice kind of guy for Wizards of the Coast. But yeah.
Here's what it's about. So it's not even about like the taxation. A lot of people that are doing it are just like, okay, I can understand if I'm making $700,000. If I get to $700,000, I wouldn't mind paying a share to Hasbro / Wizards of the Coast. The problem is
Slash
this.
Microsoft.
The problem is, well, yeah.
Don't they own Hasbro now?
Oh, that would not surprise me, but I didn't know
Yeah.
that. At any rate, the what was I going to say?
Or
Oh, so
former Microsoft people. I'm sorry, they might be former Microsoft
yeah.
people that are running it now.
The real problem is this. So Wizards of the Coast has to put out the least controversial material. They don't have a lot of time for risks. So they put out their adventures to DMs, and they don't have the they only have so much manpower, right? The beautiful thing about the OGL, Open Gaming License, is that people can create their own things. The problem is recently it's been embarrassing that some of the best modules that have come out have been like the modules they've been putting out have been getting a lot of criticism, while people that have been less pushing of an agenda, we'll put it that way, have been able to put out modules that have been well received, that are generally well organized and well received by their people. So they're missing
lots of good content.
yeah. But they're missing a lot of
I will
money.
point out the Spelljammer thing that came out
Mhm.
recently. One complaint that they had about the Spelljammer book that came, it was official, sorry, the official Spelljammer book, because there had been
Yeah.
unofficial OGL friendly Spelljammer stuff. And Spelljammer is D&D in space. That's
Yeah.
kind of oversimplification, but you would think there would be ship to ship battle rules, right? Not in this book. So you almost had to, they're almost kind of going, oh, we didn't know, they're almost leaving it out there like, hey, invent that yourself. Well, guess what? What if somebody puts out something after this OGL? They might snatch it for the next book. Like, well, then why don't you pay the right people to make up the right content for D&D rather than just, thinking you could just take it from us when we're just spending, our free time to do. We're not paid to do. We're doing it for the love.
Yeah.
So
And
anyway,
that's really what it comes down to. The OGL was originally written by a very different group of people that wanted to respect creativity and wanted to stir up a community to get behind something. And they basically wrote it into perpetuity that anybody could use the whatever version of the OGL. The OGL says you can use, you're legally given the right to use whatever version of the OGL you want. So basically, we will not take your stuff. We will protect it under this original right. And if we change our minds later, doesn't matter. Legally in court, you can go back to this one. So the thing about it is it's not a matter of can they take anything that has been written in the past. They legally cannot do that. The original Wizards group was very careful with that. But unfortunately, what they can do is shut down the ability of creators to feel confident and to put out any new stuff, which is what they've done. Many of the creators that I am aware of have just been like, nope, after this, we're not going to create for your world because you're going to reserve the right at any moment with 30 days notice to take our products that we've made, our babies, away from us. Who wants that? Who wants to work in that environment? They're working to build something up for themselves and for the community around them, and then Wizards could easily swoop in and say, well, yeah, we're going to appropriate that. That was the language that they put in there, so it was betrayal. And the creators are taking it very personally, and I think it's too late.
Cat's out of the bag.
Yeah.
Even if they come out with something official that's a little less crappy, a little less mean spirited than the original one was, I hate to say this, but you kind of got caught with your pants down, and it's you can never, it's like something you can never unsee. It's like
Yeah.
you can't go. It's like the emperor wears no clothes. I mean, you
Well, the
can't have it.
trust.
The
Trust
trust, yeah.
is absolutely valuable. And so I will say that there are a lot of people that are working on their own kind of open source gaming systems so that everybody contributes to it and you create an open source gaming set rule.
Been there
So
before. You know,
yeah,
a lot of D&D fans, you know,
mhm,
not ones that went, oh, I was watching Critical Role and I decided, no, that knew that there were rule sets before this. You know, the
right,
ill-fated
yeah,
fourth edition, the one that a lot of people liked. It had some mechanical issues, but 3.5, 3.0, that's around the time that the OGL originally was created. And
right.
the system reference document was fantastic. That there was. Now, was there a glut of too many books out there? Probably, yeah, I would
Yes,
say there probably was a lot. But that just meant there was more variety, and it meant that the better stuff was going to float to the top, and the terrible stuff was going to be like, well, we're giving away for free now. What I'll say is this: all throughout that, people were like, I want a more old school kind of feel, which is why we
mhm,
have now the old school Renaissance, so the OSR. You look up OSR on Reddit or even in Google, you're going to find tons of materials. These are basically rule sets that bank on the fact that you cannot copyright rules. You can copyright trademarks and copyrighted things like, let's say the word beholder, ropers, chokers, Draco liches, some of those things. You can always call it an eye lord or something, or call it something else, and put.
reskin it, yeah,
Thank you. You can reskin it and put and give different names to things. In a lot of these a lot of these are really well done. Like Old School Essentials is kind of like based off of the BX or the basic rules of BECME BX. Osric is based off of, I think, first edition. There's some stuff based upon third. Mostly it's the original edition, the 3 brown books, you know, that came out in 74. It's, you know, first edition and basic and variations of basic. Also, there was a side, there's a guy, I won't get into all the details, but the OSR basically is like, we don't have to just play what Wizards of the Coast puts out. We can put this out, and because of the OGL that originally was, we're not going to say this is based off of Dungeons and Dragons. We're going to say this is based off the first edition of the world's most famous role-playing game, a fantasy role-playing game. They use that verbiage, and they skirt almost everything. That you can think of. Sometimes they even use they'll use a D20 roll under mechanic, or they use a D20 roll over mechanic. I know we're getting into the weeds. This is nerdy stuff. But the thing is, though, the old school Renaissance has been going on for years now. And this is just going to have some people go, well, maybe I don't play 5e anymore. Maybe I'll play this old school stuff. Oh, wait a minute. This is really supported. Labyrinth Lord, you know, I can't think of some of the other ones, but you know, a lot of these are based off of certain versions, these rules, and they're very well done and very well supported, and have whole
right,
companies behind them. And honestly, they're going to stay cool as a cucumber through this shakeup.
yeah,
I mean,
and
Kobold Press is coming up with their own system, and that's fine. And they know what they're doing. They put a lot of good content out, you know, for
yeah, they do.
for 5e. I'm sure you saw the one that that our Dungeon Master had put out there, you know, with the deep magic and stuff. So they know their stuff. So all they have to do is just turn that just ever so slightly, and they've got a fan base. But the OSR has been around for a long time. It's not going anywhere. And good luck with Wizards of the Coast or Hasbro trying to sue them. The bad part is this, okay? You're a small content creator. And even though you're gonna win, you have to go and fight
To
with
court.
Goliath,
Hmm.
that has millions of dollars, billions of dollars behind them, the best lawyers, who are still going to lose, but you're going to be like, oh, we got nothing now. We're broke.
I'm not sure that Wizards is going to survive this because a lot of people that are leaving it. A lot of DMs are mad and they're not going to continue to buy their stuff. So they are going to be going from like from a financial standpoint, like they didn't make a lot of money, right? There was a lot of money being generated from them, but they weren't making a lot of money, and they were kind of angsty about that. But they're going to go from being that to being, well, now we're not making any money. So
Well, and they're talking about, you know, this new virtual tabletop they've come up with. Um,
yeah,
there's been really low, not low quality. I'm saying like
low
low
buy-in.
low buy-in stuff like I've used Owlbear Rodeo is one.
Mhm.
It's really good. It's basically just like a map, and you just move the icons around, and you can hide icons. You can do Fog of War, all those different things that the big ones do. A dice roll with little 3D dice you can roll. And you just you have D&D Beyond and that and Zoom side by side, and you got a game. You don't have to need anything that Hasbro has ever put out except for the 3 core books, right? You really don't need anything more than the 3 core books. You don't really have to even have D&D Beyond if they start asking for too much for subscription, which is one of the things that they talked about. I think that's how they're going to go, is treat D&D Beyond like Netflix. They're going to be like, if you pay us every month, then you get the rights to all the books we put out in digital form, and that may be something that's worth it for you. I don't know. That's
Yeah.
something to discuss.
Well, they do have that
You know,
already. It's just very expensive. We're talking about like a lot. I don't remember how much.
if you're saying the subscription is going to be expensive.
No, it
Oh,
does
because
exist already on D&D Beyond if you wanted to just have access to all
okay.
things, but you don't own
Oh,
those things. The second you stop, your ownership of those books is done.
I want the books. I want the books. I
Yeah,
want to take care of them, and if I need to replace them with other books, once these get too dog-eared, then that's what I would do.
right.
So that's all I've got on that. I think, but I think, look, role-playing games have been very resilient. Back in the day, the way that content creators were looked at was this: is there was even I'll send you a video, but there's a real interesting point this guy makes. Is he says back in the day when Gary Gygax was still alive, God rest his soul, he was sent a letter or called or on the phone or something, and they said, we're here in California, we're making a new class called Thief Class. Is that okay? Here's the details on it. And they went, oh, that's cool. Do you mind if I, use that? And they go, no, that's great. That works really well. So, and you guys can use it. So it became a very collaborative kind of thing. I don't think Gary Gygax wanted to get rich from this. He just wanted
Right.
to support himself enough to keep DMing, keep writing what he loved, and pay the bill, pay the baseline bills, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't, again, this is just third hand knowledge that I'm getting about Gary Gygax. I don't know everything about him. I just know he's one of us. He's just a guy in a basement who kind of made big. Him
Yeah.
and some of the other guys. And D&D, it would not be in D&D without some of the other people involved in it, not just Gary. So I won't just say that he's the only one, but he's kind of the face of it. I hate to say, he's
Right.
kind of
Right. Right.
the only, and I think the other ones should get a little bit more play as far as having started this.
Right.
They need a little bit more credit given. Anyway, the point is that it was a very collaborative world. Role playing games have always been very collaborative, and here you go, you got somebody going, no, these are, they're trying to make money off of it. It's because Hasbro is not making tons of money. They're really
Right.
not. And what they want to do is monetize something that's almost unmonetizable. If
Yeah.
you have a brain, if you have some kind of random number generator, if you can flip a coin, there's role playing games that have like flip 4 quarters.
Yeah.
Flip 4 quarters. You had this many, it's a success. Add your, add your
If all
skill or
that they had
whatever.
done, if all that they had done was try to tax or essentially impose a tariff on those people who are making a lot of money based on their content, so like Critical Role and Dungeon Dudes and all the others that are doing well, Kobold Press or whatever, if they
Right.
had just imposed some type of thing on that, I doubt there would be this response. The problem is they wrote a clause in there which would allow them to appropriate that content and use it themselves, and that was a line too far.
I think
And
some of those things may have changed in a recent update on that. I'm going to send you the most recent update that I have.
yeah,
Who's talked about it's he's actually
yeah, but the
a
cat's out of the bag now. That's the
I
problem.
know, but this guy's a trademark and copyright as well as other kind of law. He knows a lot.
Mhm.
He's kind of his whole claim to fame is internet.
Yeah,
Talking about the law on the internet,
yeah,
and he's very entertaining. I don't agree with him on all his things because he kind of goes into political stuff sometimes. So I kind of go like, oh, okay, you're stepping across your lane, you're out of your lane, buddy. But in this case, I wanted to hear from a lawyer: is this really true? Could they do that? And actually, it's not as bad. I think it's gonna it's gonna hurt them, but it's not gonna hurt the role playing. It's not. We're not gonna be like without Dungeons and Dragons. You're gonna be able to do some stuff
oh
with it,
yeah.
but it just you have to do certain things to kind of skirt around
No, I'm just saying what they've
the
done is they've
puppets,
killed their primary buyers right now. They've undercut,
the trust
yeah,
levels in
the
them.
trust of the DMs. So
Well, that's the thing. Whenever you want to play, they say, okay, what's the buy-in? If you want to play Dungeons and Dragons and be a game master, what do you need? I would say let's say bare minimum. Bare minimum you need Player's Handbook, Dungeon Master's Guide, and Monster Manual. Everything
Yeah.
else you could probably get online or from a friend or friend. You could reskin everything you want. You really don't need
Right, right, right.
every spell on Mankind. You could run some really good campaigns. Just kind of trying things out. You need some dice, either from an app or physical dice. You're good. How much how much was that? Let's see. I don't know what the prices are right now. Let's say they were $30 a piece. That's probably generous. That's $90. $90, you could play. You'd never have to switch games if you didn't want to, and you
Oh
could
yeah.
stay play. You could stay playing for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years. $90, and you
Yeah.
can play that long with it. That's not $90 is not even enough to sustain a board game in being interesting and having plenty of change to it
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
So the thing is they're trying to say, wait a minute, you bought something once. How do we make more money? I guess
Yeah.
we make
Which
miniatures
is a
and
fair question. If they had just
move and
gone
make a
to the
movie.
people who are actually making money and been like, "Hey, we need a part of that," and they'd figured out a legal way to do that, that wouldn't have had the big backlash because the community would have been like, "Okay, yeah, Critical Role is making $7 billion a year, and so sure, we'll support a tax for that for
It's
Hasbro."
on the backs of our on our IP.
On their work, right,
Yeah.
exactly. That's a different matter than, we can appropriate your content. So,
That
and they
I
backed
would watch
down
this.
on that,
I would, yeah, they
but
did.
the creators are not gonna trust them anymore.
Oh, it's kind of like what did he say on the video? I had to let you see the video, but it's basically like, you got caught saying this is how we're going to eat you. Oh no, we're not going to eat you. I promise. Wait, the fact that you even said that you wanted to eat us in the first place makes us like very hesitant. Oh, just
Yeah.
kidding. They're like, I'm going to kill you.
Okay, now
Oh
my
no,
guard's
I'm
up,
not.
yeah.
Right. I was just
So,
kidding. Wait. Why were you kidding? So if I didn't catch you kidding
oddly
about killing me,
specific.
right, eating and killing us. But yeah, that's the thing is the hobby as a there is not, okay, contrary to what people might believe, there's not one role play game at all. There's tons, a lot of
Mhm.
different ones. I've seen a lot of them, and they all have different elements of them that are fun. Some of them way too crunchy, some of them way too fluffy. There's something for everyone out there. But the thing is, for a lot of people that got into role playing games due to streamers or podcasts or whatever, uh, they think that D&D is the only one, and 5th edition is the only edition. And there are some people who've kind of opened their eyes and went, oh, let me try something a little bit more old school. What's still out there? Well, I could buy the old rules, but wait a minute, these are a more shiny,
Mhm.
uh
Polished.
polished, and but they're in better shape too, because you find the old rules, they're like in these old beat up books. But anyway, yeah, we're talking quite a bit about something like that. Here's the other thing too that I thought about. Are You've seen the trailer for the Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves movie
Video game.
coming out.
Or movie, yeah.
I plan on going to see it. I still plan on going to see it. The thing is, the question you might ask yourself now is if this movie makes a lot of money, who makes the money? Is it Paramount, or what's the name of the company? Is it Paramount through Hasbro? Does
I'm sure
Hasbro
there's gonna
make
be a lot of
all
people making money
but does
off of that.
Hasbro make all the money from if this movie sells really good tickets?
I mean,
Or do they just get good word of
no.
mouth about their product? Or
They
was
get
there art?
they probably get a fair amount of money, but the word of mouth, the growing community, that's really what it's about, I think, more than anything.
Do you think it's going to get people that are like, hey, I don't know what this Dungeons and Dragons thing is. I don't really play that kind of nerdy stuff, but I like Marvel stuff and I like, Game of Thrones. Oh, wait a minute, this looks pretty good. Do you think there's
Yeah,
going to be a lot of crossover in that? They're going to be like
possibly, yeah.
curious, or is it
Yeah.
mainly going to be a lot of just, old school, role players that are like, going to watch this?
Yes, it's gonna be both, I would think,
Both.
because the way that they shot that, the way that they have developed what they've done, and what you see from the trailer indicates that they're trying to reach a wider market. They're trying to go, Marvel on us
It's
here. So
action. It's action role playing rather than just like now.
precisely,
Now, one of a session that we might play that has a lot of talking in it. Even though it's very good, make a good episode. It wouldn't make a good movie. It might
right,
make a
right,
good 4 minute, less than 4 minute long moment. Maybe the moment where they're all talking, on the way to the battle, or they're
yeah,
talking during planning the battle. Whatever. I honestly, I'm gonna go see it whether I fully like it or not,
Yeah,
or think it's going to be good or not. I'm just going to go see it because it can't be worse
it's
than the
something to
one.
say.
Can't be worse than the one they put out in like '99.
Probably not.
Oh man, I just William hasn't seen that one yet. I want him to see that one just to see how
Yeah.
bad, you
All
know.
right.
So anyway,
Well, do
that's
you want to
that.
wrap
That's
here? Or?
that. Yeah, that we can wrap. That's our pop culture section segment. I do not know. We'll just stop it there. But I don't know if he's gonna put this up or not.